On April 12, 1633, Galileo Galilei was put on trial for defying the Catholic Church with his theory of heliocentrism. Galileo had evidence to support his claim, and the Church denied his findings simply because of their belief in the Christian faith. Galileo was punished for expressing scientific evidence for his claim, and justice was not brought to the situation until 300 years later, when the Catholic Church admitted that Galileo's statements were truthful. Galileo fought through many hardships in order to teach the truth of the universe, and that is why Galileo is now considered the father of modern science. Galileo Galilei was born on February 15, 1564 in Pisa, Italy. He spent his childhood in Pisa until 10 years later, in 1574, his parents moved to Florence. He attended the monastery school at Vallombrosa near Florence in his teenage years. He excelled in the school and was sent to the University of Pisa for the study of medicine, where he found his love in the topic of mathematics. He then tried starting a career in mathematics and science. This decision was made without speaking to his family members, so when he came home 4 years later with no doctor's degree, he resorted to a tutoring career to make a living. He eventually found more and more inspiration building up. By age 22, he published his first book, titled The Little Balance, based on his inspiration from the studies of Archimedes. He got noticed by schools and began another career teaching as a mathematics professor. At this peak of his career, he took in more inspiration in astronomy. This led to him being informed of a telescope made in another part of Europe, and this fueled his determination to make his own. In 1609, Galileo put together his own telescope to explore the heavens from where he was on Earth. He took great interest in astronomy at this time, and wanted to learn more and more about how outer space functioned. His telescope was in fact an improvement from the original design. He was able to see more than any other person on Earth. He held great power, and he used it to discover what has now revolutionized modern science. He carefully observed each little corner of what he could see. He was invested in what he could discover and what tiny aspects he could identify. In these early years, scientists did not have the same knowledge that humans have adapted from then to present day, so Galileo had much to discover. And by the year 1610, Galileo had made his first major observation. Galileo started a major discovery by pointing his telescope at the planet Jupiter. He noticed what looked to be stars surrounding Jupiter, and after days of closer observation, Galileo inferred that these stars were actually moons orbiting the planet. He continued observing little details about the solar system, and after observations of the planet Venus, he was able to hypothesize that the planets might have been orbiting the Sun instead of the Earth. This idea of the Earth being the center of the solar system had been common in this time period, because the idea of geocentrism was stated in the Christian Bible. Galileo's curiosity grew, and he pointed the telescope straight at the sun, not knowing the possible damage it could cause to his eyes. He noticed dark sunspots, which supported his idea of heliocentrism. Though Galileo was not the first to have this hypothesis, the first idea of heliocentrism was from Nicholas Copernicus, a mathematician during the Renaissance period. These findings were revolutionary. Galileo knew that the world must be informed that the Copernican model of the universe was actually reality. Galileo published his findings in a book titled Dialogue Concerning the Two Chief World Systems. At this time, this book brought a lot of controversy to the topic of the heliocentric model. This book brought a lot of research to the idea and made it very convincing. and people really didn't know what to believe. This huge question dawned over the population: science or faith? Science has a lot of research to back up studies like these, and these studies are easy to believe because of that. Although the Christian faith was more of a way of life in Europe during this time period, most of the population were people of the Christian belief, and research studies denying the statements of their Bible was confusing. And since almost the entirety of the population were Christian, public statements like Galileo's that denied the religion were illegal. So when word spread to the people of the Catholic Church, an entire new question formed. How will the Church go about punishing Galileo for his crimes? On April 12, 1633, Galileo's Inquisition began for statements against the words of the Christian Bible. These statements, proving the truth of the heliocentric model, were deemed heretical by the Catholic Church. Galileo argued that these statements did not come from belief in the Copernican theory, but rather discussing the topic and its relevance. Galileo took as much action as he could to save himself from the heresy accusations. The Church hardly took this argument to note and kept their statement that the geocentric model is correct, even though there is actual evidence proving otherwise. Galileo's fight for justice was slowly dying out, and it became obvious that the Church would not grant him his freedom from their accusations. After the Church's discussion, they conclude that Galileo would be punished for his publication. Galileo was told to never teach of the heresy again and would be placed under house arrest, meaning Galileo was confined by the authorities to his residence, and any sort of travel away from the house would be monitored or restricted. Galileo agreed to the sentence, and the Church did not clear his name of the heresy for an entire 300 years. This controversy was important toward growth for society in the topic of astronomy. Galileo's sacrifices helped shape a new model of the universe, proving it to be one of the most revolutionary debates in history. Galileo gave up his future for other people, and he should be praised for his work during his life, but instead, he was punished for what was thought to be false claims. Galileo did what was right for economic growth, even though he knew he would suffer consequences, and for that, Galileo lived up to the name Father of Modern Science.